Let's look at some characteristics. We're going to review the ones we talked about on Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll get into what we need, I believe, to win a Super Bowl. So let's get into it. So, Super Bowl DNA or championship DNA. Either way, man, it falls and hits the same way. And so, the first thing we talked about on Monday was mental toughness, right? And when we talk about mental toughness, like what I said was, or how I explained it was, you develop mental toughness, right? Nobody's born with it. It's like you hear the statement sometimes, they're just born a leader. That's not true. Nobody's born a leader. You develop leadership. You develop leadership skills. You develop that mentality to be a leader. Nobody's born a leader, right? And same thing with mental toughness. Nobody's born mentally tough. You develop mental toughness as you perform under pressure, right? And sometimes what we've seen from the Ravens is a lack of mental toughness from the coaching level on down to the player level, right? We've seen some questionable calls in difficult moments, high leverage moments in games, and even more specifically, the playoffs, right? So mental toughness is something that a coach has to have. Yeah, he's not on the field playing, and I know we've heard and made that commentary that players play, coaches coach. But if the coach is behind the controls, right, then as he's coaching, he's ultimately aware of the game situation. He's aware of the time on the clock. He's aware of, or should be aware of, the down and distance. He's aware of what needs to happen right before the half. He's aware of what needs to happen after the half, right? As far as if you're going on offense or defense, he's aware of, it's 4 minutes left and the other team kicks a field goal, and now it's your turn to figure out what you're going to do. You're down by 4. You need a touchdown. What's the best mode of operation? Do you want to go full blown hurry up? Do you want to just go quick pace, or do you want to run your traditional regular paced offense? All of those things, the coach has to have a level of mental toughness to be able to navigate. And so sometimes in those high leverage moments, we have not seen the coaching staff from the Baltimore Ravens put the players in the best situation to win. Again, I'm not banging on the coaches. What I'm talking about is mental toughness. When you get to the players, let's say the coach is putting you in the best situation possible. He's calling a great game plan. Mental toughness comes into play when, okay, you threw a pass on second down, you picked up 5 yards, now it's 3rd and 5. What is the best play that you can execute, right? If the play is called and it's a screen pass, right? Are you going to block it up, right? Or are you going to get called for holding? Are you going to stay still as an offensive lineman and be ready when the ball is hiked? Or are you going to jump off sides and make it 3rd and 10, right? Mental toughness shows up in high leverage moments, and it speaks to how you perform. And the more you come through, the more you succeed in those high leverage moments, you can grow in confidence, right? But also, even if you fail in high leverage moments, as long as it's not costly, as far as it can end the season, you can learn. You see, I don't know if there's much learning from last season in the playoffs, especially in that fourth quarter game, basically on the line, and you don't come up with the catch. I don't know how much learning you can do from that. But that was a high leverage moment that we didn't come through on. Now, could that make us better for this year? Yeah, because you got a whole off season to get that out of your system. You got a whole off season to kind of look at that play, to look at how you blocked, to look at how you threw, to look at your hand placement, all those kind of things to create a better outcome when that play comes up the next time. And so mental toughness will not be developed in the offseason. It won't. It'll only be developed when games are on the line. And with the gambit of teams that we play, you can't come out of this season without being mentally tough. So I don't have an expectation that the Baltimore Ravens show up in the playoffs and not be ready to roll. All right. I think element number 2, as we shared the other day, is work ethic. And let me start from an organizational context. You see, when it comes to work ethic and the Baltimore Ravens, I don't think anybody's outworking us organizationally. But sometimes I do think teams are out GMing us. That's not a real term, but it's one today. You see, I do not think anybody's outworking the Baltimore Ravens organizationally. And so work ethic from an organizational context, I think is appropriate. I don't think anybody's outworking us from a coaching standpoint. But I do see at times, and I mentioned some players where it doesn't seem like the work ethic is all the way there. You see, there's guys, I won't mention them by name in this video, but there's guys who seem to stay injured. Now hold it. How are you injured and you ain't ever really playing? That don't make sense to me. How are you injured all the time and you're never really being contacted like that? Or you playing very rarely and you're still getting injured? So I wonder, is the work ethic there with training and diet and regimen? I wonder. You know, you haven't really seen some guys take the next step. And I wonder, is it a work ethic thing? Again, I'm not calling anybody out, but there is some players on this team where sometimes you don't even really know if they played in the game, right? You know, as far as inactive and active for a game, they were there. But sometimes you don't even see that they made an impact. They don't register anything in the box score. They don't, you know, their name is never called on the telecast of, you know, creating some pressure or making a good block or making a good whatever, right? Making a good play. You never hear some of these players' names being called. And I just wonder, is it work ethic? So again, I don't think people are outworking us from an organizational standpoint, out GMing maybe, but not working. I don't think that teams are outworking us from a coaching context, out coaching sometimes maybe, but there is some times where it looks like we're getting outworked, and that speaks to work ethic. And so as we continue to create this list of character traits or DNA traits, we have to go to a team first focus, right? This is something that is probably the most disruptive force for a team trying to win a Super Bowl, is when you have a me guy. And there's plenty of opportunities for a player to be about me, right? To be about themselves, especially when it's a contract year and you haven't got your money yet, especially when you're coming off your rookie deal and you've been balling and you need that extension. And so you think about holding out. See, I didn't say selfish. I said me. So when a guy wants his money, I want him to get paid. I know that a team can't pay everybody, but when a guy needs his money, I want him to get paid, especially if he's earned it on the field. But sometimes that can be a derailing factor, right? When a dude is in a contract dispute and he starts talking about holding out, and then what does the media instantly do? Let me start sticking the mic and camera in other players' faces and asking them about the other dude's contract dispute. Or what do you think about the player holding out? And what do you think you'll be missing if he doesn't play? So it definitely can create a distraction. The other context for me is on the field. Now, this past season, we seen what appeared to be some issues of me, right? Now, I am talking selfishness. Getting your money, I don't think it's a selfish thing, especially if you earned it. But when it comes to playing time, that can be selfish and it can be disruptive. Last season, for an example, right? Marcus Williams was playing bad, and so they leaned into Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson was playing bad, and there seemed to be two sources of contention. It seemed as if those dudes didn't know how bad they were playing. And so they seemed to come off as a little bit of selfish. Now, I don't know the depth of the story. I don't care to know the depth of the story. I'm just telling you that's how it seemed, right? And so that was a distraction. That was a disruption. And so it's no surprise that when they replaced those two dudes with Ardarius Washington, who was just a dog, right? And he was all about team. He was all about getting his opportunity. He got out there and balled, and life on defense changed, right? There was another guy who the Baltimore Ravens traded for, and Deontay Johnson, who seemed to be consistently a me guy no matter where he was. He seemed to be a me guy in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh got tired and shipped him off. He seemed to become a me guy, although he was the number one receiver in Carolina, and they shipped him off. So he came to Baltimore, and we thought, I believe, that the structure and team orientedness of Baltimore could stabilize him, could straighten him out. But when it was time to go in, he said, no, I ain't going. He made it be about me. And so then he got traded again to, no, he got released and Houston picked him up, but he didn't last in Houston. And last I checked, last I knew, he's still on the street. And the unfortunate thing is he may not get another job. Because in one season, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore, Houston, you still showed up as a distraction. And so on this Baltimore Ravens team, we can't have me's. We can't. And I think everybody we have in-house right now, I think they're solid. I don't know of, I can't recognize right now of any me guys. And so I think that this is a team that we can roll into the regular season with. And we could have a team focus. We could have a collective mindset. And I think we can go and get some work done through this season and on into the playoffs. And so here's a new element that we're going to talk about: resiliency or resilience. I think that a team must be resilient. And resilience is just kind of the bounce back, right? When something happens, do you have the ability, the capacity, the willingness to bounce back? It's not something you can really learn. It's just something that happens. And so we already know through a regular season, through a 17-game slate, that all kind of things can happen. And so the question is, do we have resilience? Now, 53 or 53 players do not have to be resilient. You just have to have a few core dudes that the other guys can get behind. And so we have seen sometimes when it comes to being resilient, that when the Baltimore Ravens get punched in their face, they don't bounce back. We've seen that. We've seen at times that when the Baltimore Ravens, can't really get on track, they let go of the rope. And for a while, a couple of series or half, things can just go wrong. Now, halftime, they can regroup and have a second half surge, but that doesn't always work, as we saw evident in the divisional round. We played okay-ish in the first half, but we had a exceptional second half, but we came up short. You see, because how we started the game with mishaps is also how we ended the game. And so sometimes I think that the Baltimore Ravens lack resilience. Again, this is not something that's going to be learned or earned and developed in the offseason. It's going to have to be done under pressure. It's going to have to be done in the course of a 17-game season. Again, I go back to Lamar Jackson when it comes to this trait. I've definitely seen him develop this resilience over the course of the last couple of seasons. I've seen him have a bad moment, not many, but have a bad moment and just go right back to work. I've seen him have a bad play or bad series and just gets right back on the field and go right back to work. I'm watching this guy grow up right in front of us. I'm watching him exhibit these character traits. But now these traits have to begin to spill over into the rest of the crew. Again, it don't have to be with everybody, but a couple of dudes who Lamar can depend on also have to have this resilience. And you've heard me say this before. There is a strong link between Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely. I'm not saying he doesn't have a connection on the field with other players, but it's pretty evident at this point that Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely can just get it done. A lot of those big make it happen plays that Lamar Jackson pulls off, where he's pressured in the pocket, he has to escape and look down the field and elude a rusher. When he lets that ball go, a lot of times it ends up in Isaiah Likely's hands. And you're seeing that trust be developed for Isaiah Likely. We saw a play where Isaiah Likely caught the ball against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think it was right before the half. He caught the ball, he fumbled it, turnover, and I think it took points off the board for us and put points on the board for them. But it didn't cause Lamar Jackson not to trust him, because you saw over and over again he would still go to Isaiah Likely when things would break down around him. And so I'm seeing this resiliency being developed between or in Lamar Jackson, but also in Isaiah Likely. And so hopefully we can just keep that thing going, keep building, and that will begin to spill over into some other dudes for sure. All right, that's character trait number 4, or DNA trait number 4. Let's go to number 5. All right, discipline. Now this is big for us. This is big for us. If we're going to be a Super Bowl winning team, a championship contending team, we have to be disciplined. And really, this is the easiest one of the character traits. You see, because work ethic has to be proven out in production and in effort. Mental toughness has to be developed under pressure. Resiliency is only shown after things go bad for you. A team first focus, right? Sometimes if I'm already a selfish person by nature, sometimes it can be hard for me to focus on the team. But trait number 5, discipline, is something that the Baltimore Ravens must have, and it is the easiest characteristic of a championship team to establish. Because discipline is established from what you're taught, from what you're coached, and it turns into what you produce. The Baltimore Ravens were the most undisciplined team last season by far. In big games, like the playoffs, we showed some undisciplinedness. In regular season games, for 17 games, we showed a level of being undisciplined. And I don't believe that that's what they were coached. I don't believe that's what they were taught. But I think their undiscipline was tolerated. What? Yeah. You see, it's just like raising children of sorts. You teach and train them for the course of 18 to 21 years. And then at some point, they move forward and start their young adult lives, right? But through the course of that training and that teaching, right, you tell them to clean up their room. And you show them how to clean it up. You show them what you expect. You show them how to make the bed. You show them how to put their clean clothes up. You show them how to sweep or dust or whatever it is, whatever the chore is, to make sure that room is clean. But if they don't replicate it, right, and you just overlook it, and you just tell them the same thing, oh, well, you need to clean your room up. Well, I told you. Well, I told you. Well, I told you. If you don't bring in discipline to establish discipline, you're going to get the same results. And for 17 games plus 2 playoff games, you saw undisciplined ball from the Baltimore Ravens, which says to me some of it was tolerated. And so I think that in order for the Baltimore Ravens to really capture the championship this season, discipline has to be established this offseason. This should be one of those off seasons where you're running sprints if you're jumping off sides. You remember how it was in high school, right? When your coach was trying to teach you discipline and you jumping off sides, go run a lap. And you come back and get in the play and you do the same thing, go run another lap. And so sometimes you had more lap time than you had actually practice time. You run the wrong route, drop the ball when it hits your hands. You miss a tackle. See, what was the lap running about? Discipline. To show you an immediate consequence to hopefully correct the misappropriate behavior. And so hopefully discipline is a focus this offseason for the Baltimore Ravens, because it's going to be much needed. Accountability. Now, accountability is one of those terms that we're all familiar with. It's one of those things, motivational speakers talk about, life coaches talk about, mental health professionals talk about, government officials talk about, parents talk about it. Accountability. But what is it? Accountability is when I accept responsibility, not just for what I do, but for what I also don't do. You see, am I showing up on time for practice? Am I studying? Am I watching film? Am I training? Am I rehabbing when I need to rehab during the regular season? Am I uh, disciplining my body? Am I uh, focused? Am I hanging out late, getting in trouble? Am I drinking and smoking? All those kind of things. You see, because all of those things I'm accountable for, what I do and also what I don't do. And so when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, we've seen this on numerous occasions. We've seen when the Baltimore Ravens go out and they don't perform as well as they should, we see John Harbaugh walk to the podium, sit down, and have the same kind of conversation he has in every loss. Well, we could have coached better. We could have played better. And then when the reporter asks hard questions, he deflects. He gets an attitude. He gets short. He gets snappy. Well, that's not being accountable. See, don't tell me you should have coached better. Tell me what you should have done to coach better. Don't tell me you should have played better. Tell me what you should have done to play better. See, accountability is not generalized like we see sometimes from the Baltimore Ravens players and also coaching staff. You see, we heard EDC a couple of seasons ago not really be accountable when he said, hey, I wish we had better wide receivers. Remember when Rashad Bateman snapped back at him? Well, draft better wide receivers, EDC, or go out and sign a better wide receiver or trade for a better wide receiver. So instead of saying, I wish we had better wide receivers, and wish may not be the word he used, but it was definitely in that context, go out and do it. So sometimes you can see a lack of accountability from the top down. And I think that it's one of those things that has troubled us. It's one of those things that have costed us. And the last character trait I have to be included in championship DNA or Super Bowl DNA is consistency. That's also what we didn't see last season. I don't think you can see much consistency in the early season because, again, you're trying to establish what, yourself, figure out who you are, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what plays work, what plays don't work, who to put in, who to take out, who to sit, who to start, all those kind of things. But once you find that version of the team, that's what you should stick with. But when it comes to being on the field, make the plays you're supposed to make. And then don't make the plays you're not supposed to make. It's not a fact that every offensive lineman is going to have 100% block in every game. It's not so. It's not so that every running back is going to rush for a first down every time he touches the ball. That's not so. It's not a fact, or possible rather, that a quarterback completes 100% of his passes. That's not possible. It's not a fact or possible that a wide receiver will catch every ball that touches his hands. That's not possible. But consistency is possible. Am I doing what I've been taught and trained to do? Am I doing what I've been coached to do? And am I doing what I know to do? Right? Am I in the right place on this pass route concept? Did I make the right pull? Did I make the right read? See, being right is the evidence of consistency. It doesn't mean the play is going to come out like you planned for it or hope for it, but being consistent is doing the right thing every time, even if the play doesn't go the way you expected it or wanted it to. And so sometimes when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, we're not always consistent. And that's what we saw last season as well. Because when you're undisciplined, it's going to mess with your ability to be consistent, right? And so let's close out right here. So, when it comes to our core, right? Offensively, we have some guys we're 100% going to lean on. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, or let me say it this way, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Ronnie Stanley. I think those are your core guys. Tyler Linderbaum. I think you can throw Zay in there, right? And just because I didn't mention a guy, it doesn't mean we can't depend on them. But when I say core, these are the guys who have played at or are still at a Pro Bowl level. So you expect those Pro Bowl level players to produce as such. Doesn't mean that they're going to be in the Pro Bowl again. It just means that you expect a level of discipline and consistency and accountability and work ethic and mental toughness and a team focus. And on defense, there are some dudes you just are going to depend on. Marlon Humphrey, Roquan, Kyle Hamilton, Madubuike, Kyle Van Noy. And in like fashion, just because I didn't mention them doesn't mean they don't have what it takes. It just means those are guys you're going to lean on. And so Do the Baltimore Ravens have championship DNA? Well, from last year's evidence, the 19 games, and that's a large body of work. For 19 games, if I'm asking, do the Baltimore Ravens have championship DNA? Do they have it in them to produce what it takes to win a championship? From a 19 game sample size, you have to say no, not right now. Some of the elements of DNA, championship DNA, will only be developed during the season under pressure. Some of the things like discipline, accountability, and consistency can certainly be established in the offseason. But if you put all of these 7 elements together, the Baltimore Ravens have the talent, and I believe the coaching, to earn themselves a spot in Santa Clara, February 2026, to be in the Super Bowl. So listen, man, that's what I got for you guys, man. I'm your guy, Boulanger. I will catch you guys again tomorrow, and I'm out.